But we'll find out. Here we are.
Here we are.
Let's see if it works.
Wow.
I was jamming out.
Yeah.
Flawless. That was a flawless turn off, flawless transition.
We need, you know what?
Honest question, Rabel, have you found Sasquatch back there?
No, my three kids are back there making noise and probably come in the background at some point. Maybe they will, but not here. Not here. I'm good.
There's gonna be a part of the live where both me and Rogers are just like, behind you, and there's like some snake.
I was actually we're having
flickering into in the background.
We're having tech difficulties, so I am using my cell phone live on location here, and I was down here. So we're in Florida, and at the far end of our campground at night, you can see the Disney fireworks. And I walked down here the other day, and I was looking at them, and there was some woman and her kids, and I was talking to her. And the kids were talking about the spot where I am right now. This is a picnic table. It's way far in the corner, far away from anything else. We shouldn't have anybody bother us at all. But there was an alligator here, and they were throwing rocks at it. I'll turn the camera around. I can't see, but there's.
Oh my God!
Like
that is a hard no.
Yeah, I don't really do alligators or snakes. I'm out.
So, alligators and spiders are my bugaboos. Don't.
That's why I'm facing this way instead of have my back this way to it, because I don't want a scene. Not on air, at least. Not on air.
There's this restaurant we ate at last year down in North Carolina or South Carolina for Bike Week, and I looked down. We went outside and it's over like the water, and I looked down and there was just a big alligator sitting there, and I like nearly dropped my drink. Like I was like speechless. I was like I couldn't breathe.
Yeah. We were somewhere in Florida in the Everglades last year, and it was like a bus tour in the Everglades, and it brought you to this little overlook post. And on the path was the biggest alligator I've ever seen. The thing was, I couldn't put if I put my arms around it, it wouldn't even gone halfway around. The thing was probably 1,000 pounds. It was huge, and it was just sleeping right in the side of the path. And the park rangers or guards or whatever there was just stayed close to it and made sure the people didn't get close. But there's no way I would have been anywhere near that thing.
You gotta run into zigzag. I think that's the consensus according to TikTok. You just run in a zigzag and you're all set.
Did you see that one? The guy fishing and the alligator jumped out of the pond. Like I saw it yesterday. I was just telling my kids about it. The zigzag.
Yeah, you gotta zigzag it.
Nope. Hard no. Now I'm gonna dream about alligators. I just lost another night of sleep. Thanks.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Sorry.
Yeah.
So the big thing today is these down payment assistance programs. Mike, I've never dealt with one as a realtor in either Connecticut or Mass. I know there's similar but different programs in each. Could you give us a little bit of a idea of what that is? Let's start with Connecticut.
Yeah. So every state essentially has a bond program, and the nature of the bond program is that the state wants to encourage all states, right, want to encourage non-transient citizens. And like I said, every state has one of these. You can Google your state to find one out. Here in Mass and Connecticut, we lead with it all the time. And essentially what the state wants to do is jack up their tax dollars. So what they do is they will give you down payment money, which you can use towards down payment or towards closing costs, however you want to do it. It's usually at either free in some cases, many cases, or it's near free, meaning the interest rates are in the single digits, very, very cheap, and spread out through a long period of time. They all have some kind of a recapture, which basically means the state, wants to make sure you're going to stay in the home. And if you leave it within a certain amount of time, there's not a penalty, but they'll recapture some prorated portion. And that's really it. They're easy qualifying, and usually you have to be a first-time home buyer. They're always going to have targeted areas because the states are also trying to spread out the tax base to make sure it's not pooling. And that's really a base concept of them. In particular, because the three of us really operate mostly in Mass and Connecticut, we can go through a couple of the pros and cons, or not pros and cons, but differences between the two, and how they're going to implement them. And every state's going to implement them a little bit differently. But they're wildly popular. Massachusetts, I want to say, is somewhere in the $1 billion range, maybe more. I know Connecticut definitely is with how much they're giving out a year. And it's probably the program that we work to first. Let's talk quickly about those targeted areas. So Connecticut has really a couple different ways that they're going to implement it. They've got this thing called time to own, where they're going to it's like the opposite of their regular down payment assistance targeting, where they want to target the more expensive areas to spread out diversity, right? Feeling like if you're in the area where houses are more expensive than the bottom, let's say 80% of homes in the state, and you kind of have to put 20% down in order to kind of get your offer accepted, they're going to give you up to like $50,000, which is a very nice sum. And you can combine that with some other programs to really get into houses for near nothing. A lot of people who I use time to own with are buying houses for nothing out of pocket, less than $500. Massachusetts is very similar. They don't have that same targeting. They've got more of a traditional targeting to spread it out in targeted areas where there's less, economic stability, let's say. And what I usually tell people with those are, if you can get first, last, and security for rent, to get into a rental, we can get you into a house for less than that. So these are both like really great programs for your first-time home buyers. That would be the first criteria. There are a zillion nuances within each program. They're also going to really work for your municipal employees or your state employees. They have carve-outs if you're a police officer, carve-outs if you're an EMT or a firefighter or a teacher. And these programs are kind of interesting from the standpoint that a lot of lenders can do them, and they're extremely transparent. They've got websites that are forward-facing for the general public, and you can see where lenders rank. But if you're not really working with a lender that's probably in the top 10% of people who are doing these programs, you could kind of get lost in the shuffle. I think, and you guys correct me if I'm wrong, the general consensus on the realty side, which permeates itself down to the seller side, is that these programs are finicky and slow. That is not my experience. And the reason for that is because, there's a lot of lenders who carry them, but really don't know anything about the products. And these products really have to be set up correctly. There's a lot of little bits of red tape and nuance with them. But for folks like us, a lot of times these are 99% of the time, these are conventional loans, which is good for a seller because it's more beneficial on the appraisal. They don't have any overlays with appraisal, or very little overlays. So they're really vanilla, base loan product. And for folks like us, we're getting these done in 30 days or less in many cases. For mass housing, you're underwriting it where most lenders are delegated, meaning you're underwriting it in-house. You don't have to go for a final rubber stamp to mass housing. For CHFA, you still have to go in for a final rubber stamp. And the peek behind the window, that's where you're losing all of your time. People go into CHFA or CHFA, the Connecticut Housing Finance Authority, to get your last sign off so that they'll fund the money. And that should be at most 4 to 5 days. But instead, what will happen is you'll go there and they're unhappy with the work that the lender did. And then it bounces back and forth. And that can take a couple of weeks. And that's where you get these 45 and 60 days.
Becomes a cat fight at that point. Yeah. You working with you, we got one done in 30 days or less. So I remember working with someone else. I can't remember. It was a little longer, but and not to anybody's faults. They're not that bad, and they're really not that confusing, and they're pretty simple. It's just an added step, and that's what you just said. Going back to the state for the final step, it's really it. The buyer might have to fill out a few more pieces of paper. Nothing.
Yeah, I think a lot of education was done last year. I think both states did a better job of educating the realty base, especially with the difference between the down payment assistance piece and the underlying loan. And what I mean by that is the underlying loan is where the property is going to be scrutinized, right? That's where your appraisal guidelines are set. And the underlying loan, they are using regular guidelines. They're not adding anything to it. And so because most of these products are conventional and not FHA, USDA, VA, which they can be, but the more favorable product is actually when they're conventional. People realize like, okay, well, then I don't necessarily have to worry about anything extra on my property. And when you do get those, 20% down offers or full financing offers with the down payment assistance program, those are really good and very viable offers. So,
and I think it's worth noting too. I had a coffee with an attorney just last week in Simsbury, and he told me about this. We're talking about this exact program or down payment assistance. The buyer actually got paid to buy a house. The buyer ended up with a credit at the end and got $500 at the end. This is after closing costs. This is after everything. And
it's crazy.
I haven't heard of anybody getting paid. I know. Maybe.
Yeah, listen. Ultimately, you're able to buy houses with almost. The Connecticut one is outstanding. Again, there's little nuances, right? In order to take advantage of the Connecticut one, the most favorable. The first thing is true of any of these programs, which is this: if you want nearly free money, you still have to have clean credit. So if your credit's in the toilet, you're not going to be able to take advantage of one of these programs. I've got, most lenders, we do have great credit repair people we can put you in touch with for very, very little money. They can get you shined up, and they understand the programs and where you need to be. But if you can meet that, for the time to own, you have to be a 3-year Connecticut resident. You don't have to be a resident for any of the other programs, but in order to take advantage of that program, you have to be a 3-year Connecticut resident. Mass housing is the same. You don't have to be a resident. You just have to be a first-time home buyer. So there you go. But they're just fantastic programs. I mean, anyone who's not leading with these is crazy. You're also getting a discounted rate. You're also, all of the rate, costs, and fees are very transparent. They basically, they limit the lender so that you don't even. Your shopping is done by your expertise of the lender, which is what I always find. That's why I point out, if you want to have the best luck with these to get your offers accepted, you got to go with a lender that's really localized to your market, that understands the product really well, and that has a reputation of turning these around quickly, because the cost, the fees, and the rates are completely transparent, and they're the same no matter where you go. The difference is in the execution of getting the loan done.
Right, absolutely.
Yeah. Wildly exciting stuff.
Yeah. I lost connection there for a second, and when I come back, it's only coming out of my little speaker right here. So I don't know if you guys can hear me well.
You can.
Gator guy.
You would mention, just as I come back, credit. You need normal credit, good credit. What
I usually tell people is this: you can't have nothing in collections. This is how I would describe clean credit to people. Let's forget your scores for a second. You can't have any collections. You can't have anything that has late payments in the last 6 months. If you've at least got that, we can usually get you shined up, or you're ready to go. You just don't necessarily know it.
All right. What's the process of getting that shined up? What exactly does that mean?
So I know enough about credit to be dangerous. I used to teach credit classes many years ago. Nowadays, I rely on Bedrock Credit. Stephen Roberts, he's the best around. But what I will say is, typically it involves getting on the phone with the credit bureaus, getting on the phone with the creditor, hammering out either a payment plan or a payoff, clearing it out, getting the right documentation back. So that you can prove it. If you take control of that documentation, and here's what what my credit guy typically will do. If you take control of the documentation of whatever action you took to pay a debt off, pay a debt down, or make a settlement, if you take control of that action and grab very specific documents, you can actually communicate directly with the bureaus and have that rescored very quickly. If you leave it to the vendor, to the creditor to do that, it can take 2 to 3 credit cycles, so 90 days. So a lot of times it's worth spending a few $100s with, somebody like Stephen Roberts from Bedrock Credit to have him navigate that process for you, because it can happen in real time, much, much quicker.
All right.
But usually it's that easy. I think people are very intimidated or they just don't know the process, I suppose, right? To find out the right phone numbers to call, to make sure you've got the right debt, especially if that debt's been sold a couple of times. Like, that part can be daunting if you don't know. So this is why I use Stephen. He's fantastic.
Yeah, we should get him on here. We should have some questions.
He's a great talker, super engaging. He wears the old school McDonald's microphone, which is great.
It's not old school.
For some reason, I thought you were going to say like a cowboy hat or something like that. I don't know why. I was like, maybe we won't have him on. But
he's a not-for-profit. A lot of people like us, give him a little retainer on a monthly basis. So 90% of the time, he's doing a free consultation. The information he gives is really, really valuable. It gives people a lot of confidence that whatever credit issue they have is very fixable. I think people would be very surprised at how malleable their credit is. Even for people who've had, really rough things, medical debt or bankruptcies or foreclosures or divorce, which led to bankruptcy or foreclosure or short sales. I think you'd be very surprised that it is not very difficult to clean that back up and make all parts of your life cheaper on the financing side.
Too, and the other thing I really like about it too is he'll keep me posted.
Yeah.
So if I send someone to you and then it goes to him and then just keep, hey, we're looking at maybe a couple months here, then we should be, as long as they do their work. And it's like, good, you know what? Now I know too. So he's
great.
Yep.
Yeah. Sure. As far as qualifying for these down payment assistance programs, are there any parameters that you need to be within in order to?
Yeah. So first-time home buyers, one, and we're gonna let me back that up. You don't necessarily have to be a first-time home buyer, but you can't have been on title on anything in 3 years. So we're gonna prove that with a title search, and we're gonna prove that with your federal tax returns. Those are unavoidable for sure. The second thing is you're going to be income cutoffs, but the income cutoffs are pretty generous. In most of the time, and I don't want to get into too much mortgagees here, I suppose, but we're looking at the differences between compliance and qualifying income. And a good loan officer is going to understand how to navigate those two. So for sake of boring the hell out of everyone, the tens of people that watch this with us.
There's 4 right now. So
compliance income is everybody who's going to live in the household. And there's a lot of grant programs that choose compliance income because they really want to meet a need, a very specific low-income need. And qualifying income is basically giving the loan officer the tools to say, all right, I've got borrower 1, I've got borrower 2, in some places borrower 3. And well, what combination might make the most sense? And I can remove people off to get a better deal. To be honest with you, these are things that I'm doing all the time with some other types of programs that I have. All programs are going to have that have some kind of benefit like that. They're almost always going to be tied to some kind of an income calculation. I won't get into the weeds on where those income cutoffs are coming from, but we're sort of always looking at that. Like, how can I get people into these programs? Because some of them are first-time home buyers, some of them are not. Some of them are 3 years off a title. But ultimately, there's usually going to be an income cutoff. So, state resident would be 1, not always. That's just for the Connecticut one. 2 would be 3 years off a title. 3 would be, income cutoffs. But those income cutoffs for 1 to 2 borrowers, and again, we're saying borrowers, not household, but is, usually into the 120 to 130,000 a year range. So for a first-time home buyer, it's really accessible.
Yeah.
So
But you were right. You were right. You didn't want to bore all the people watching. We had 4, and now we have 2. And
who left?
and one of them's probably Chris Pacholi, like the cannoli here.
Right.
He's probably still here. So he doesn't even matter as far as buyers go.
He knows this stuff.
I know.
That's funny. Chris is the best. He's a very smart guy. Yeah, listen, I don't know what else to say. I think people think I sit in my office all day and do nothing, but we're crunching a lot of numbers over here.
I don't know where they would get such a thing like that.
Yeah. Oh, I want to talk about, if you guys are, I'll recap for a second. I don't know how long we have here, just to say there are many more programs than even just these 2. These are, in my opinion, the most favorable. The state bond programs. Whatever state you look in, you can Google what state bond programs will have available. Rhode Island housing, New Jersey housing. Every state has one. And then usually they're very transparent and easy to at least understand at the surface of what the benefit can be in terms of dollars and cents or whatever else. What I would say to you is, if you're a realtor and you're not using them or trying to use them, or if you're a homeowner and you're not at least, you don't own any property, you're renting and you're not trying to take advantage of this, you cannot let cash be your burden to entry. Down payment still remains for decades on end the biggest barrier to home ownership, and there are so many ways to attack that. We're only touching on 2. It's crazy. If you have, what's that old one? There was that old used car lot that it was like, do you have a job? Do you have?
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Yeah. Do you have a job? Do you have $500? You're approved or something like that. Yeah.
Oh man. What I always tell people is like, which is true in the mortgage business. Listen, if you've got 2 years of work history, schooling can be that. If you've got a steady job currently and you've been on there for a year, you could afford, to rent, then you really should look at buying. It's a very viable option. So there you go.
Absolutely.
I want to talk about rates because this came up again today. I've got a realtor friend of mine. She's a very, very near dear friend, and I really value her opinion. And she was mentioning to me this scenario today. And I feel like we've all heard this, and it's the national narrative. And I've sort of given up on being what I felt like at times was like a singular voice in a sea of voices. That people aren't moving because of rate. They don't want to give up these low rates. And we all know when they say low rates, because they'll often articulate rates in the 2s or 3%. So I had something sent to me from Stephen, my beloved Stephen, and I dove into it a little bit, and I was even surprised by it. And I'll pause there and say this. People still move for the same reasons they always have. The national average length of a loan is still like in the 9-year range, and length of home ownership, even in the Northeast, where people move the least, is like 13 years. So people are moving. Like the idea that just because rates were crazy low for 2.5 years, 40 months or something like that, 42 months, that people are going to stick with these rates and never give them up and never move is just completely unrealistic. So I want to pull this particular statistic out. First quarter, a year ago, a little over a year ago, I guess, the first quarter 2 years ago of 2022, when we first started having these rates sort of go crazy, there was just shy of 70% of homeowners had rates below 4%. So that was all of 22, and let's forget the change in statistic, brought us all the way through 23. And ending the year in 2023, and this is a national statistic, only like 58% of homeowners in the United States have a rate below 4%. And the prediction is that by the end of the first quarter, so by the end of March going into April of 2024, it will be less than or around 45% of American households will have a rate at 4% or less.
Wow.
And I find that wildly interesting, because if you told people in 2018 they could get a 4% rate flat, they would have been ecstatic.
Yeah, that's true.
So the idea that somehow people aren't moving or aren't selling because of the rates that were available in that small window, it doesn't stop the rest of life moving.
Yeah.
I just talked to somebody this week who has a 1.9% 15-year loan. They live in the northern western corner of Massachusetts. Their only daughter with the grandkids, lives down here in East Long Meadow. It's a little over an hour commute. And mom is doing a lot of nanny work for them. But what was holding them back supposedly was this 1.9% rate. But when we looked over what they're going to get out of the house, what they're going to be able to put down in a new house, even moving to a low 6% rate made sense for them economically. A lot of sense, actually. It wasn't nearly as bad as whatever their perception was that it was going to be, that somehow giving up this 1.9% rate was going to make this completely unfeasible. It just wasn't even remotely true. And I find that very interesting. It's like once you get off of that national narrative and start looking at dollars and cents, like if you're moving, you're probably moving for a lot of the same reasons. You're upgrading, you're downgrading, you've outgrown the house, work has moved you, your lifestyle or your family has moved you. All of those things are still true. What we've lost, which was prevalent during the pandemic from 2019, 20, and 21, were I have called the whim. I'm moving on a whim. Yep. I want to put a pool in, so I'm going to move 2 neighborhoods over because that house has a pool. So why not? So anyway, I just found that interesting. Less than 45%, under 50%. Everybody supposedly is staying put because they have these sub 3% rates. And it's just not true. They're not out there. They don't exist.
Yeah. Wonder how many people are out there, planning on refining. I'll refi. I'm going to wait till I come down to 1.5. I'm going to wait till it's, 1.75. And then it just went the other way and they missed their opportunity. Those people are probably kicking themselves, but it is what it is.
I don't know. The statistics would tell you that by the end of 24, going into first quarter of 25, you will have less than 25% that will have a rate sub 4.
Crazy. It's crazy. I mean, that's a lot of refis and new purchases in 24 to go from 45 to 25. That's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot they're predicting.
A year and a half. I mean,
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, even if, again, you look at those lengths of home ownership and lengths of a mortgage, because, people move. I mean, let's take for an example, another scenario. I'm working with somebody who's in an FHA loan, right? And they have they're like a 3.75% FHA loan, but they're still paying PMI, which you can't get out of.
Yeah.
So there's a window there where it makes sense to refinance just to get rid of the PMI, even at a higher rate.
Yep.
Because they can't tax deduct the PMI anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So that was one. Another one I was looking at was with the Fed rates getting jacked, HELOC rates have gone through the roof. Mm-hmm. Well, what do people use home equity loans for? All of your home improvements. Well, the entire world of home improvements has not slowed down.
Yeah,
so now you're looking at rate arbitrage, and you're saying to yourself, I have a $300,000 house. I want to put a $100,000 project on this house. Am I going to do that at 9%, 9.5%? Or does it make more sense for me to take my 3.5% rate and refinance all of it and get all the cash I need, let's say at 6% or 6.25%? It does. I mean, it doesn't take a whole lot of, tricky.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting.
So anyway,
it goes to the point where everybody's different. Everybody's got a different situation too. So even carrying on with that, a lot of people, the biggest thing that I get as a realtor right now, especially when it concerns the interest rates, are I'm waiting to buy for the interest rates to go down. It's like, okay, well, we got to be realistic about this, and we really have to get the word out that yes, projections for 2024 are looking good as far as the interest rates going down, but they're not going back down to the 2 and 3% where they were. We might find a percentage going down for 2024. So we got to be realistic here and understand that those times of the 2 and 3s for right now, they're over. They're done. So we got to get that out of your head. Move on. Like if you were willing to buy, like,
so I agree with you. Here's the narrative I tend to use on that, which is this: if I put myself, and I'm a perfect example of people who've exploded out of their home. We bought our house with just my daughter Alyssa. We've had 4 kids since then, and that takes up a lot of space. And what I would say is, what I find very interesting is we have, for years, we had this diatribe: we're not moving, we're not moving, we're not moving. It wasn't necessarily rate; it was also cost of home. I bought my house really inexpensively in 2011 or 12, and the cost of homes in my town have gone way through the roof. And so, what has caused me to want to move? It's not that I found a house really cheap. It's that I found a house that I daydreamed about and visualized myself living in. Right. And then I rationalize all other things to go along with it. Right. So what I say about that, Dan, is what I like to do is have the conversation, which is a real one, which is, then let's spend Monopoly money. If you were going to daydream, where would you go? What would you buy? What are the things that you would want? And that is what drives people. Honestly, that's what the whole Zillow experience and Realtor.com experience is now. Mm-hmm. People go on and their first click is a daydream. They walk through their garage, or they came home without a garage, or it's July and they don't have the pool, and they don't go on the pool website. They go on the shopping for house and click show me homes with a pool near me. Mm-hmm. That's really the narrative. So if you can, I don't want to act like you realtors are too much, but
you absolutely are.
You guys are dream fulfillers. That's really what you are. Your home is your sanctuary, right? Oh. Anybody who's ever done a home improvement understands that when you lose that sanctuary, your whole world is upside down. Yep. When you come home and there's tape everywhere and sawdust and sheetrock for 3 or 4 to 5 months, you're just like out of your mind because your home is your sanctuary. So getting back to that, like, you guys are the dream fulfillers, right? So let those people daydream about what kind of property they want to get into, and that's how get people off the irrational fear of rates and prices.
Yeah, irrational fear. I like that.
Incomes are up farther, higher percentage-ly on a percentage basis than the average mortgage payment.
Yeah.
So.
Ooh, schooled.
Yeah. It's fun. Listen, I know the 3 of us are still as busy as ever.
I love that. I'd love to hear more sometime. Not now. We've already been going almost 35 minutes about these other sources, other down payment money sources. Yeah. That's something that I've heard about. I've never really had clients that were interested in that, but I also haven't been able to educate other clients on that. So we gotta talk afterwards and figure out how to get that out to some of the people that really need it right now.
It would be good to combine with a conversation of what I'll call boutique products.
Yeah.
Because the state bond programs are just a smoking deal. The rest of them are loans that you're going to really give something up to get something. You're going to solve your cash problem, but you're going to give it up somewhere else. Much like a 203K loan, or, as you know, a DSCR loan. So those might be good, or a bank statement loan if you are self-employed. So those might be good to talk about on a more like a boutique loan discussion to solve kind of specific problems.
Yeah, but at least these state programs, people need to get in. If you have dreams of home ownership, you have to get in the market. You have to be building that equity. Rates drop a little bit, and that $150,000 condo that we might be talking about, or that $250,000 house that we might be talking about with these down payment assistance programs, that's going to be $275 next year, and it's going to be $350 6 years from now. These people need to get in building these equity now, regardless of what the rates are, just to be able to move up to that home that they want to be able to move up to eventually.
I mean, listen, if you buy other property, like income producing property, look at how quickly rents have risen.
Yeah.
You know, I have a friend of mine who was looking for a rental, and you know, even for like 1 bedroom and 2 bedrooms in our local market, you know, you're into the $1,500 to $1,600, $1,700 range per month. Whereas that same rental in 2018 was like 900 or 875.
Yeah. If it was brand new, you know, 1,200, 1,250, brand new, you know, fully rehab, fresh. Yeah.
I sold a duplex in 2010, 2011. Yeah. When I moved here, I sold a duplex in 2011. I rented out the other side. I think I was getting $1,350 a month. So it was across the river in Enfield, those Bigelow Commons. These are huge, 1,400 square feet, 3 bedroom, 1 bathroom. I actually had a fenced in backyard. Oh. And that same one now is $2,150.
Yeah, I was going to say that's well over 2 at this point.
Yep. It's crazy.
Yeah. The cost of home ownership is only going up.
Yeah.
You know, it at the very least, lock in your principal and interest payments. You know, taxes are always going to go up a little bit. Insurance is going to go up, but lock it in to start and move up from there.
Yeah. This was riveting, guys.
Yeah. Every time I open my mouth, we lose the viewers that I can see on the screen here. So.
Nothing I have is ever going to be exciting.
Yeah.
I'm staring at people behind you though, Mike, because people are like hiking.
Probably. I keep. Have you seen anybody? I keep looking at it.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. That's probably my kid.
Got any good jokes?
Jokes.
Not clean ones.
And
Not clean ones.
No.
Can we do a cocktail hour at some point and sip on something?
Well,
sure.
Have you guys ever watched that Drunk History?
Oh my God, I love that show.
No, I've never even heard of it.
Oh my God,
check it out.
You have to. It's on.
It was on the History Channel. Or no,
it's hilarious. They take these historians, they get them hammered, and then they have them tell like a history lesson. It's absolutely hysterical.
It's not
we should do drunk financing.
It's not even like historians. There's regular actors, regular people.
Yeah.
This guy gives them a book, says read the book, and then be able to tell me about it, and then gets them sloshed.
Oh, they're hilarious.
And the way the reenactments are.
The Frederick Douglass one is probably my favorite.
That is one of the good ones. There's a Coca-Cola.
That's Don Cheadle, I think, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was a Coca-Cola one back in the day that was.
We could open it up to anybody too. It's easy to get on here. You click the link. We can invite guests on. I can invite them in, talk, and
I'm very good at getting drunk. So
Chris might be an interesting one. His brother-in-law essentially is like old school Sanford and Son. He sells stuff on eBay and stuff for a living. Does clean outs, sells estate sales. I want to say sells junk, but I don't want to offend him.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
I did that in college. I did that at college at UConn. That's when like the UConn women got really, really popular.
Yeah.
Like nationally, they got really, really popular. And at Gamble Pavilion, for every game, there was a program, which was a poster of one of the players. And I don't know, they'd probably print up 4,000 of them, and they'd sell 2,000 of them. And as the night went on and the next day went on, they would just bring them different places, staging, getting close to the dumpster to be thrown out. And I would go back, depending on what time I went. Sometimes I go right in the dumpster, pull them out. And there were weeks in college, 2 weeks, that I made over $5,000 from eBay in college a week. And I mean, the average week throughout the winter during that season was probably $2,500 every week, week after week, just selling stuff on eBay.
That is crazy.
Yeah. Just free stuff, all free. It's not like I bought and resold. Huh?
Wow.
I was in Hartford last night when UConn was playing. I should have just raided the Civic Center.
Got to go dumpster diving.
Start dumpster diving.
Yeah. I mean, my father recently just threw out all the rest of these programs have been worthless for, 25 years at this point now. But he recently just threw the last out. I had cases of them, just cases and cases of this stuff.
That's fantastic. I love this. What a little peek behind the window.
Here's my dad. My dad is one of the two people watching right now.
You see what he's doing with it?
Look at that. You know, he's got a good point.
Oh,
Thanks,
man.
Dad.
Where's the return on that investment?
Yeah.
Seriously. Oh
Oh
shoot.
my gosh. That's
Yeah,
fantastic.
so let's maybe for one down the road here, because the weather's not getting any better, but we'll get together. We could do, me and Mike, we could do a one together. We're at an office. We'll have a couple cocktails and
I just went online and found this new mic, Rode, RODE, where it can pick up like a group or it's good. You can get good sound quality. So we could definitely all pack ourselves into one studio and have some fun.
And the weather's nice down here too. If you guys want to make a trip down
Rabel can
south.
DD. We'll make Rabel drive us around in that big truck.
yeah.
There you go.
Heck yeah.
All right. What can I get a Super Bowl prediction here?
Niners.
Super Bowl.
Niners,
Yeah,
Daniel.
I'm going Niners too.
I'm taking. I'm betting KC. You only can make money on a dog. I'm taking KC, and I don't even care what it is. I'm taking the over.
The spread is what, 2 right now? 1.5?
3. I think I might have seen it up to 4, but I'm still taking KC.
If it's up at 4, then someone's injured.
Taylor Swift effect, baby.
27-24. Niners.
Yeah, I say it's over 50.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I hope it's over 50. It's 2 best offenses in the.
Yeah. I wonder what that. I don't even know. Is the over under out yet? I have to believe it's going to be like 52, 53.
Well, I mean, if it's out, it's going to change.
Yeah, of course.
To the Super Bowl. I don't know who's hurt, but I'm going with the Niners.
KC. Do you not love Taylor Swift? What are you doing?
Oh, I do. And trust me, I'm not one of those ones who thinks it's super annoying. But
she's amazing. Don't you dare.
But I think it's the Niners' year. I just do.
Ooh.
Giants fan. What do I got to say? I don't even know.
If you're a Giants fan, you better clear your house full of rope. Giants are awful. Awful.
Okay, buddy. Let's towel off. Let's
towel off. Fight it. You got to get rid of them. It's as Giants fans. I might have to step in. That's personally offensive.
What?
You're going to raise your children as Giants fans?
Absolutely.
Oh my gosh.
Absolutely.
And the sadness will continue.
And German soccer, apparently.
Marcelo's is never coming back. You know this.
We'll just sit here and be quiet.
He's never coming back. Although I saw a rumor the other day, Belichick has a soft spot for the Giants.
Well, you know why?
I saw that.
Imagine you're a Patriots fan, just the way you are. You're a loser. So the Bill Belichick won a Super Bowl with the Giants as a defensive coordinator back in '89. So yeah, he's got a soft spot for him.
That would be interesting. If he goes to the Giants, then I would allow you to raise your children, one of the 2 children, as a Giants fan.
I made a prediction.
I can't have you waste both of their lives.
I made a prediction.
Tell me you're a Mets fan too.
Yankees.
Okay.
I made a prediction 2 weeks ago or last week when Belichick was looking for his job. I think no one's going to hire Bill Belichick this year. Okay. Both Giants and Jets coaches, so Robert Saleh and Brian Daboll, they're going to fall flat on their faces again and have a horrible year. And Bill Belichick is going to go one of the New York teams.
It can't be the
both
Jets.
Both coaches are going to go.
The butt fumble Jets. It can't be the Jets.
I mean,
it can't be the Jets. I don't want to see him on the Jets. I'll root for him anywhere but the Jets.
I would agree with that. If you went to the Giants, I would be very interested in the Giants.
Yeah, me too.
I like Tom Coughlin when you guys had him.
He's a great man.
Such a sad existence. If you said you were a Mets fan too, I would come over. I would drive to Simsbury and give you a hug.
Are you a Mets fan?
No.
Oh, stop it, Jay.
No, we're not. Not now.
Are you guys working? Who's Jay?
He's from Windsor Locks. He's the president of Lock Soccer Club. Laura just was wearing the Lock Soccer sweatshirt right there.
It's all about Brand Cutler.
Well, then we will see him on the pitch this year.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna go get to work. So.
Oh, my daughter won a free throw contest the other day.
Nice. Congrats.
She's in some Knights of Columbus competition now. Lillian, man, she's a killer.
That hurts a
Yeah.
lot.
I don't know. I haven't seen you guys in like a couple weeks. I got to catch up.
I know. Well, I'll
First-
see you on.
First every month. You got to give the monthly mortgage update and go from there. Sound good?
Yeah, it works.
Yeah.
I'll definitely be seeing you next week, right?
Yeah.
Cool.
Thursday. See you guys.
See
See you later.